All right, we're live. We'll wait for a few people to stream into the Materials Exchange Broadcasting Network with Matt Layman and Ashley Boeckholt on our Lunch with Lumbermen on Thursday, Thursday 7/1 before the 4th of July weekend, where we celebrate how awesome our country is. And we'll wait for a few people to come in.
Go America.
Go America. How we doing, Nick, on people streaming in here or coming in? All right, starting to come in here. And then we'll start out with a little bit on our quiz for the day. I've got a good one. It's a little, I think it should be a little bit harder to Google up on this one. How are you doing? How's things by you down there? We're getting tons of rain up here, Matt.
We're supposed to get, it's coming. It's going to be on the way this afternoon, but it's going to be cleared up by the weekend for a nice holiday weekend. It's funny how some parts of the country are just like in drought conditions and fire hazards, and others are just in deluges of rain.
Yeah, I'm getting emails consistently from people telling me about all the potential fires up in Canada, which I hope everybody's safe up there. So it's certainly interesting how you get a lot of that.
Are they talking their positions? Are they worried about the fires?
Hopefully worried about the fires. I see a lot of stuff going on up there, right?
I talked to a guy yesterday, said he was in Vancouver. He said it was 115 degrees.
It's insane.
That's hotter. That's hotter than Phoenix.
And that's not metric degrees, is it? That's our.
Oh, I don't know. Because they're kind of across the border. There may be an exchange rate on the temperatures too. So I don't know.
Right on. How's it looking, Nick? 15 in. We'll keep having some people stream in. Happy 4th of July. If you want to throw up your name, who you are in the chat, we'll get to see you sign it in. Say hello. Again, as always, Matt and I do this every week. I think this is week 12 or 13, Matt. And I got to tell you, the feedback is amazing that we're getting. People love coming to this. I've got 10 emails yesterday. I'm going to be out of the office. Can you record this for me? And I keep trying to tell them we're streaming it on 3 different channels right now, 2 YouTube channels, our Materials Exchange YouTube channel. I've got a YouTube channel called Wood Stocks, and I've got a tie-dye shirt on it, kind of a little play into Woodstock. And we got the Materials Exchange LinkedIn channel. So on all 3 of those channels, you can always go in and review these and play them again for anybody else. But again, ask any questions. Hello from Chicago. Hey, Jory. Hi from Hong Kong. Who else? Happy 4th from Josh. They have a fire ban in Washington, it says. So we'll get started. How we doing, Nick? 25 streaming in, plus the other people watching that aren't registering. Woodside Home, National Residential Builder, Sean Heath is in the house here. All right, well, we're going to start out real quick here. And Justin from Carbon Mark Framing in San Antonio is on also. So let's start out. John Bewer, Cruise Lumber, Rochester, Minnesota. Joe Bewer. Hey, Joe, how are you? How is everything up in Rochester, Minnesota? All right, let's start out with the question of the day. And that little thing you see up there is our donut for our to make my face beautiful. What movie did Laurence Olivier ask if it was safe? What movie did Laurence Olivier ask if it was safe? That is the question. If you get that question right, we will send you a brand new mug from Materials Exchange where you can keep any one of your beverages, hot or cold, in this Arctic mug, shipped directly from us. You'll love it, enjoy it. It's fun for the whole family. Let's start out a little bit here, Matt. I was reading your yesterday that you sent out for Wednesday, June 30th. Focus on the sell side mills. Focus on the sell side mills. Nick has it up. Give us a little bit about, when you and I go back certain nights, you're writing all the time. You've got a big job. You're always coming up with new content. I thought this was pretty cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
It's funny that I sent that out last night. I got this morning with a brand new thought about the lumber market. It seems like it changes. So these things, when I publish them, they are actually right at the minute what I'm thinking is about within that hour, and it's just so much going on. It changes every hour, but it's nothing radical. It's just really the description of it. But the purpose of this was, it seemed like for the last 2 months, all I've heard about is how much pent up demand there is, how we've got 4 million underbuilt housing starts, how the lumber's on a crashing bearish trend, and the multifamily's got all kinds of stuff all built up. It just seems like there's a big, almost the industry's trying to convince itself that it's waiting for the buy side to do something. And I talked to one guy this morning. He said he's got 50 just this week. Their company in the last 5 days has gotten 50 quotes for multifamily projects to bid, and those were all on the east side of the United States. That wasn't even on the west side. He said we don't even have the manpower to quote it. But it's just, you hear things like that, and you go like, well, the pent up demand is really very real, but we're kind of waiting, sitting on the sidelines, waiting to see who's going to jump first. Is it going to be BFS or somebody, Lowe's or Home Depot or 84, Carter Lumber, Menards, or somebody, we all know the big names. It's just going to take one of those guys to make a move to really set things off. I got to thinking that in the recent past, what's happened is the mills have been in total control of this market, and we're under the impression now that they're not in control because prices are down $1,000 and still fishing. But the blocks that they're selling are blocks of 5 and 10 and 20 truckloads, not 50 and 100. So they're really not gaining on that order file. The thing is, they are selling. That's what we were talking about earlier. You can look at just what's going on in the exchange every day, and there's more wood selling every day. So people are buying. They are averaging out their inventory, but they're not all in. But they are prepared to be all in. Yeah, I think as soon as the mills start to sniff that all in coming, all it's going to take is one of them going off the market and just saying, I'm sold out. I'm just willing to build inventory, or I've sold my wood and I'm out for 2 weeks. The first time you hear off the market, we're going to be up $200 in a couple of days. It's going to be too late.
So I agree. We're going to bring up your FDP, your first one here. But kind of you and I had a good conversation before we started this call, and you had a good point. I don't know where the market's going. I can only, because we've already sold off on certain items, a high of $2,000, $1,000 to $700 on 2x4 9s now, something like that. I got an email from a guy I go back and forth with, pretty smart guy, and a bunch of people send me messages now talking market. Again, I've learned in my life that picking tops and bottoms is really hard, and you only usually do it on accident, right? So you have to have a game plan on what you want to do. And this person, I was trying to gain some knowledge. I was on the phone with him and talking to people on Wednesday night. He said, I saw my first truck of, I won't name a specialty OSB with a specialty glue in it, offered today in 3 and 4 months. Granted, it was this price, but I still got the call. Distribution is getting rid of this product at basically $1,900, $1,000 delivered to me in trucks. A wholesaler sold me a car of 2x4 104 and 5/8 at $795 yesterday and begged me for offers. This is 2 days ago. My father started in the business a long time ago, always told me lumber leads all markets. It certainly led a lot of other products this time around. Where is it leading us now? ? Was this really COVID related, and are we coming to earth? That's what the Fed chair testified to last week when he defended not raising rates. It says, Ash, I have no idea. I'm in Greg's camp, which is a guy we do to sticking to a strategy. Said, we are busy. There's no end in sight. So I've been buying a little every day. I'm fully prepared to dive in too. Then you see things so I get things like that. I get a call the same night from friends that are distributors or wholesalers that have stepped into the market and bought some volume because they feel that the price is low enough. And I'm like, well, explain to me why. And they say, well, it's dropped a lot and we feel like people need to buy and we can't go much lower. I'm like, okay, fine, I don't know. Then you go to social media and you have all kinds of gurus out there telling people they need to start buying now because the price has gotten low enough. So again, I don't know. I mean, thoughts, Matt? Let's kick it back to you. What are your thoughts on the overall market?
I think the market's in a trance of. We sat there almost mesmerized on the way up. The mills were going from $1,000 to $1,700, and just like you wait and say, well, how bad is it going to be this week? And instead of buying, you just say, well, yeah, there's up another $200, and we're doing the same thing on the way down. Just like this guy you said, he's kind of scaling in his buying, but there's so many people that are just waiting. I think I see it every day. It's like my suggestion was to buy 2 weeks ago. And they said, well, if I bought 2 weeks ago, I would be $300 over the market. I said, not if you'd counted $300, you wouldn't be. You'd be right at the market today. And at some point, that $300 is going to get gone. And I kind of sense that it's already evaporating with mills resisting quotes and not having a lot of prompt wood in a lot of cases. But the frenzy of the drops have just been so severe that nobody wants to step in front of it. And that line of people, that pile, that wall, we talk about wall of wood, but I think that there's a wall of buying right now that's just sitting out there waiting for somebody to give them a clue that $700 is not going to become $300.
Yeah, and nobody knows. So the one thing I see interesting is mills are doing what it takes right now to build a order file. You know, a buddy of mine said he went in and bought 3 days ago, got the counters he wanted, the exact tellies he wanted, crazy stuff. Not crazy, but you always see stuff, and in retrospect, you're like, I get that. The next day, called back to kind of do something similar, and not the same counter, not the same tallies, and this is all across different species. So we've had such a big consolidation over the last 5 years. You now have buyers that really aren't the owners of the lumber yards anymore, where they, like I said, used to go to their local banker and say, I need to buy 20 cars. I need another $2 million, right? These are buyers that sit there on a floor and they're waiting for their boss to come and say, we saw some catalysts, we need to now start buying stuff, right? But now before that, you get people in starting to see deals that are more entrepreneurial and distributors, and then they start seeing it first and usually lead this thing, and they're in buying right now on some stuff, right? But the price still tells me that there's not enough bought. Now we're going into a holiday. My history has always been a lot of mindsets change over holidays, and we could be up tomorrow. I don't know. But the fact is, maybe we don't know till next week what this thing's going to do or see what's happening. Thoughts there, Matt?
I think in a couple of weeks now, we're going to see that we're going to be on a way different trajectory than we are right now. I'm really looking for just a really slingshot snap moves the upside. If you look at that FTP right there, you see that on week number 28, it's a projected bottom. And that week is July 4th week. That's why that's an FTP. You can see that we're in a counter trend now that we projected correctly to fall from week number 20 into like 28. And where we're going to deviate, I think, is over here at the next high at week number 37. I don't think the market's going to be able to sustain a rally that long. I think we're going to have a whiplash that goes up. And the difference between now and the beginning of the year is everybody was willing to build inventory in February and March. This is the second half of the year is a liquidation time of the year, not an accumulation period. So we talked about this earlier too. The number of starts that we're going to do in the second half is going to be fewer than the number of starts in the first half, just because we're going to have a finite number of completions we can do. So it's going to feel like the housing market is getting softer, but the housing market is really just, if you imagine like a big blanket, you just shake it and try to get all the wrinkles out of it. It's trying to just get the waves that have been created out of the way. So
yeah, let's real quick on it. So Mike, you won the thing with Marathon Man. We will send you a mug. Good job. So I wanted to go through a few questions. What was Mike's question, Nick? I lost it. I can't scroll down, I don't think. So I spoke to a large construction company yesterday in the Southeast, and their biggest challenge is to actually get the subcontractors to put in their bids. In some cases, they're calling 60 to 75 subs to get quality bids on the bigger jobs. I think, Matt, you talked to some of these large companies. Are you hearing something similar to that at all?
I think if you're shopping 75 subs, coming in.
Yeah, maybe that's more to the fact that there's not enough subs out there, right?
Well, I don't know. I got a call from a guy yesterday here locally in Charlotte. They're a multifamily developer, and he said, "Can you help me educate my subcontractors into how they can be better buyers?" And my question was, why are you buying your lumber from your subcontractor? You know, your subcontractor is your builder. He's not your lumber buyer. There's a big difference between a subcontractor, a framing contractor, turnkey framer, whatever, and somebody that knows how to work the lumber market. If your subcontractor doesn't have a designated lumber buyer, then you should get rid of your subcontractor and find somebody that does. It's costing you money.
But the other question is, if you are buying it from different people, are they separating the labor from the lumber, right? So you can actually see what you're paying for.
Yeah, one guy told me in California. He says no. He says it's like the construction mafia. It's all or none. You got to do the labor and the lumber. Same thing. They won't let us split it out. It's like kind of like a union thing. But as for getting I think the subcontractors are doing the same thing that the lumber buyers, the building suppliers are doing. Is like, well, if I bid it this week and another guy bids it next week, then he's going to be cheaper than me. So everybody's waiting to what I think what the subcontractors doing are waiting to the very last minute before, like, when is if your subcontractor is not giving you a bid, then you need to let them know that when you're going to buy it. So when's the last time your bid can be in, latest it can be in, and if you're going to wait for the last minute, it's going to take you a few days to get all your crap together with your scheduling and all your prices. So just, I suggest, like, for example, get all your quotes in by 5 o'clock on Friday. This is going to be, and we're not going to consider any more quotes after that. We're going to place the order on Tuesday.
Yep. There we go. Here's one question from James. Only one order gets the bottom. It's always easier to be just after the bottom than trying to get in just before the bottom. Yeah, very true. And that's why I think people always scale down a lot in certain markets. Great observation, James. Jim,
I'm trying to challenge you. It's easier to get in after the bottom, but the problem with getting in after the bottom is the availability to be able to get what you want is not as readily available. So I prefer being early. Like, I'm suggesting for my guys to be buying this week and kind of scale in by week number 27, 28, and 29. So you get a little bit of the front, a little bit of the bottom, a little bit of the tail end after, and looking for areas, not specific times. But if you wait for the bottom, you're never going to get the bottom if you're waiting for the bottom. So if you're a little bit early, you got a chance of buying early and then buying later and averaging in near the bottom.
So Jim Schumacher had a question. Said, I have a feeling that we are close to the bottom with July futures touching the 682 level. Thoughts? Here's my thought. I mean, you can look at all the Fibonacci numbers, the gaps to fill, the trend lines, the retracements. CME is interesting to look at, and a handful of people trade it and hedge with it, and it's good. And it's sooner or later at 682. I mean, because everybody thinks, like Greg Riley said a few weeks ago, that this is the level. Does that mean that 300 or 400 is in play? I don't know. Maybe we are close to a bottom, but again, no idea. Maybe the bottom is today, but I have no idea. What's your thought there, Matt? What say you?
Well, I look at futures graph from last month. It's got the support levels, which are old highs and old lows. That's all it is. Just where the market has failed or been supported in the past. And that range to me looks like it's about 550 to 650.
Yeah. Well, I guess one thing I like to look at, Jim, is I'm less looking at July now than I am September.
Yeah.
The bigger the premium is in September, that maybe is more of an indicator, as people have been saying. But that also allows people to hedge certain inventory they buy too, if it's a big premium. There's the thing is, buy what's cheap and sell what's expensive, right? As a distributor or wholesaler or managing risk. And I like to, September is really the one to look at, because I think July, what date are we in? July rolls off 2 weeks. So that thing has very little open interest in it. I really think September is probably, July is spot now, so there is no limit in July.
That price of $680 is about where cash is. I've heard 650 to 700 on cash, so there's nothing remarkable about $682 as being something magic. So
well, I think
650 would be different.
I think people say that because they look at gaps in charts and technical stuff, which I do like looking at technical stuff. Obviously we won't get too deep in it. There's fundamentals and technicals, and they're kind of self-fulfilling prophecies of each. Technicals are supposed to be indicators where psychologically markets want to go and how humans react. There's always the argument between technicians and fundamentalists, right? So I like riding both sides of the fence about that. So let's talk a little bit about home centers without naming any names. I was in one last week and bought a sheet of 7/16 OSB. Came home, did a little video on it, and I noticed it was trading at about 1,400 and something, 1,000. And the interesting thing about that is the premium had disappeared. That $400 to $500 premium per sheet, home center market, index market versus the spot market, what somebody has to pay on the open market that isn't get indexed, had collapsed down to even money. And what I see in the MX platform, and what Matt and I talked about, what we're hearing, a 3/4 trading out there in 7/16, and people calling people to cut to get rid of stuff that hey, I don't want to let anybody know, but I got an extra one of these. That premium has come in and maybe tipping a little bit to the cash spot side, now going below index, right, Matt?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what we're seeing there, Matt. And Matt, a month and a half ago, you were saying this about treated, which was basically pine that would happen, and that actually played out exactly like you thought.
Well, sometimes it's not real hard to see it because like you could tell the tree was getting bought like it was going to be another 2020 summer. Just like logic tells you that I know what I'm not staying at home all summer long. I'm going to the beach, and campgrounds are full. We talked about this before, and everybody's going on vacations. I do think, though, that there is a chance that we could get a little bit of revival of maybe in the fall of some home projects being done, the DIY kind of stuff. If lumber sits down around $700 and stays lower, then I think we'll see some of those DIY projects come back. But it's not going to be. It probably won't be enough to do anything, but just help the home centers get rid of their overstock position right now.
Yeah, for sure. So let's click over to let's look at the southern yellow pine. The southern yellow pine indicator. That's a crazy chart, Matt. And it doesn't have the same. On your average on the bottom, it doesn't have the same bounce as the total FDP does. Can you tell us a little bit about what this kind of shows, the blue line and the black line, and what your thought is there?
Yeah. First of all, the parameters for the graphs are made so that they fill up the whole graph. So you notice, like on the right-hand side, the parameters for the FDPs go from 350 to 550, and that's just so that the range of that graph will fit into the whole graph. There's nothing significant about that.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
If I were to put the range from 500 to 1,500, like the lumber prices are,
it would move it up more.
Straight line.
Yeah.
So that's all it does.
So let's talk a little bit about pine. What we've seen. I mean, 2x6 trading at like $900 2 or 3 weeks ago. Now trading at $600. We got 2x8 listed on the platform in the 400s. Wides are starting to. I mean, these numbers. You really have your finger on the pulse of pine a lot. What have you seen? Where we came from, where we're at now, and what the real thing people want to know? What's getting quoted under index, because that's where this southern pine market trades, where big brokers would ever go in and trade 100 minus index and then go out and push it to everybody.
I'd say probably 2 weeks ago I was seeing $300. Last week I was seeing $200. This week I'm seeing some hundreds, but most of it's in the less than 50s. So the trajectory is of the downside is. We talked about this earlier. There's a little bit of buying going on, but not enough to get prices up. But there's certainly enough buying going on for mills to be encouraged enough to not have to take those $300 counters anymore.
Are treaters buying right now?
Some treaters are buying just because they were out and prices are good, but for the most part, no.
How much wood do treaters buy in the whole scheme of things? I've heard a percentage of all the southern pine produced. Is it like a large percentage?
About 40%.
That's an amazing stat when you think about it. Treaters buy almost 40% of the wood, southern pine wood, right? And I guess that's the which is a big chunk. I think that's one thing. Yeah. Can you bring up the OSB one, Nick? Let's so OSB, we've talked about that. There's some interesting thing going on there. Obviously, a lot less producers of this product, so it can stay stickier longer. But I can just say from what I see on the materials exchange platform trading at and what's going on. So somebody put up here, European Q3 price level for spruce equals 950 to 1,000 per thousand. Well, if you're on the MX platform, we got 2x416s trading in Florida right now at $750 a thousand. So I'm not sure where the 950 to 1,000. Maybe I'm not understanding that right, Chris, because I'm seeing levels significantly below that trading right now in the open market on European pricing. Unless that's what you're saying, they're trying to price at. One thing about Europe, I heard the ports are really full over in Germany because there were some delays of some ships, but it sounds like it's still coming over here. Everybody's trying to say there's not as much coming over. I don't know that for a fact, but I find that hard that we're still one of the best returning parts in the world, that they're not going to try to ship as much as they can over here. I probably think that. Ken Pell, for us contractors waiting to start projects with price-sensitive customers, when should we buy from our big yards? Yeah, not sure on that one, Ken. I mean, I guess check on pricing all the time. I'm not sure how to touch that question. Matt,
you're listing a group of major contractor yards who don't have the ability to do pricing in-house and make price changes in-house. In your list of suppliers, you should have independent contractor yards, family-owned that are 1 or 2 or 3, 4 places, so they have the ability to be flexible with their price in the market. These guys have, you think about it, thousands of stores. They've got average cost of lumber and OSB prices in. And to go into one store and just say, well, this guy's wanting 2 house packages, you're not going to get the individual service. And those guys are all great companies, but you're kind of at the mercy of when they decide that they're going to drop their prices, because they're not really that negotiable.
Yeah, so it's tough because they're all great companies. The thing is, it's not just lumber anymore. Everybody, when they go to their provider, they're locked in on engineered, on specialty. So it's kind of hard, like Matt said, like a pitching rotation, right? Get some other people in your bullpen that can give you pricing and use a whole bunch of good, like I said, all these are great operators, but it's never bad to have more options. I think that's what you're saying, right, Matt?
Yeah, because I mean, if you think about what's happened with price here lately, we'll get back to the OSB chart in a minute, but the way prices have fallen as fast as they have, most people are still sitting on big fat inventories, big fat costly inventories. And the wood that they bought at these lower prices, in most cases, isn't even on the yard yet. So they haven't averaged in those prices. Same with the boxes. I mean, the disadvantage of the boxes is, or the advantage of the boxes is, they bought early. So some of their prices may already be lower than the independent guys that had to go up with the market. But it's going to take a few weeks. You're looking for timing and ask that question. I'd say before you see the really good prices get into the market, you need a good 30 days. And we probably had 30 days of down move. So before you see these $700 FOB mill Canadian 2x4s, those kind of the price reflection in your store, it's going to be 30 days before you see it.
Yeah, James Breck said right on, Matt, independent service is the most responsive. I grew up in a small yard. That's the one thing you got to rely on is your service, right? Because that separates you from the crowd. So great question, Ken. Great comment, James. Let's talk about the OSB chart. Man, does that thing look sticky, Matt? It's just kind of a line across there.
That chart right there is an example of what happens when you have too many contracts. It happens every time at the top. We just go sideways at the top because mills have 80% of their wood on contract, but every day they go to work, they only have to sell 20% of their production. And that's in this kind of market, it's a piece of cake. So you get prices that are up at the top like that, they don't have to drop them if they only accumulate an extra 20% of inventory every week if they sell nothing. So it just I don't advocate contracts. I think you're better off taking your chances on open market wood, and And OSB mills have got they got the entire lumber industry by the zipper with these contracts. Everybody's thinking because everybody else got them, they've got to get them themselves, or there won't be any wood. And that's not the case. This is the worst case example of what happens when look at lumber's down $1,000 and OSB's really that price you see, that dropping you see in OSB is not the printed price. That's just my price drop that got the premium out from the secondary market.
Well, that's a good point, Matt. So that price is that I was wondering and on week 20 what that drop came from there. That's just you kind of seeing that premium coming out of the market, right?
I was priced well above the index reporters, and I once the premium got off, then I just took the premium away.
So we sold OSB yesterday on the platform at like 1,300 Chicago, right? So in a week, in last week it was 1,400 relative, right? So I'm going to go into this box store on Saturday, and I'm going to look at the price again, and I'm going to keep documenting that on the sheet of OSB I've got with the spot price, and we're going to see how the trajectory of that goes, right? And you know, this is the information that people should have on panels and OSB. Where's the real spot market trading at? Because that's where the power is, right? And that's where the real information is in this one.
Yeah, and I think in general, the spot market on lumber is probably $50 under print or index, and OSB is probably a little bit under that index, but I would think that it's got to make a little bit of a correction here pretty soon, because unless the sturdy floor comes back and we get all the production go back in line again and get the eye joist going again and all those kind of things, I just couldn't advocate buying, you know, $1,500 7/16 with knowing what's happening in the lumber market.
Yeah, let's bring, you know, speaking of, everybody loves this and wants more of this. It's just like wanting more cowbell, right? They want to look at the framing index that you have. Great, you know, to highlight some of this stuff for people. Like how much did that framing index come off this week, Matt?
Blow that up so I can see it. Let me blow it up so I can see it.
Okay.
Went from 50, looks like 36, 31, 30. I don't have mine open. Can you blow that up a little bit?
We're trying here.
There you go. Yeah, so the composite came down since May. It's down 4,000. Let's see, 7, 4, 5, 5,500 bucks on the average house. $3 a square foot, and that's probably not reflective of the most current prices, because that was done over the weekend, so it's almost a week behind. But I think we're probably looking at, I think by the end of the month we're going to be looking at somewhere close to $10,000. Probably fell a little short of that, but and the reason is OSB didn't come off. Lumber prices have fallen, but the framing package index was, if OSB had fallen like lumber had, we'd be down another $10,000 probably on that framing package.
So, James had a good point here in OSB too. He said, sorry, but in Western Canada, big boxes have been selling below cost since the start of the surge in limiting quantities. I know I did walk up to the desk and I asked the guy if I bought volume. If you bought volume in OSB, they were limiting it below 90 sheets, but if I bought between 60 and 90, I could almost get like a lesser price, quite a bit lesser price doing that. So, but yeah, so back to the. Hey, can you bring down the could you show the North American map? I just wanted to, on Matt's chart, I wanted to just look at the framing package index. There are some people that. So are any areas different than other ones right now? Are you noticing anything in different areas? California, area 1, area 2?
I think the momentum is the same everywhere. The reaction from the buyers and the builders is the same everywhere. Everybody's got work to do. It's like you said earlier, this is liquidation time for the entire industry. The rates, the pace of work seems to be the same everywhere. If there's anything, it's in that area 2. It might be a little slower just because of economics. And it's just they didn't really get wound up and get ahead of everybody. So it's more of an even pattern in area 2 where kind of like the heartland country. But those areas on the coast, they're typically usually very hot, or they're going good, but they're not going at a pace like they were probably in April and May. And those guys haven't been buying. They're just trying to catch up on the starts that they made in the first half. But I think in general everybody's in the same spot, trying to work on completions, sell the wood that they've got bought, reduce that inventory, and look for a place to buy back in. And the thing you can't tell is how the mills, because there's so few mills than there are, what the mill's mindset is. Are the mills thinking like this feels like 700 is going to hold, so let's just stop it? And I think that's what we're going to see is the map's going to get is going to get shocked by the mills reversing the market and not the buyers reversing the market.
Sure. Well, we're up against our half an hour, Matt. What I wanted to bring up here is so there's Matt's information. If you want to get a hold of Matt, Layman's Lumber Guide, it's Matt at laymansguide.info. You can see that Matt at laymansguide.info. There's all of Matt's contact information. Look, I mean, I talk to Matt's members all the time. They love the information they get from Matt. They use the information they get from Matt. They ask him questions. He really helps them. He's got a lot of positive feedback. So here's a question as a home builder with foundation sitting while we ride this down. My question, loaded question. What's the time spread between what we see here versus what the builder sees, the drop in his quoted price?
Yes, 30 days.
30 days, question mark. My customer wants to get started. My customer wants to get started. My small regional lumber salesman has been suggesting I buy 3 weeks ago. I'm thinking around space here. Can you see the rest of that, Nick? Hold on one second here. Sorry, Jeff. I'm just trying to get this up here. I'm thinking of a master plan. Oh, okay. Let me see if I can scroll down here. I've got no scrolling ability. I think you get the question here. My customer wants to get started. My small regional lumber salesman is suggesting I buy 3 weeks ago. What's your
customer's ready to go. Your supplier told you 3 weeks ago to buy, and he was wrong. It was the timing was wrong. I think the timing could be good for if your customer's ready and he likes the prices, and you can negotiate the price down from where you were 3 weeks ago, and everybody's happy. Do it and move on to the next job. I mean, I saw a job yesterday, Ash, that it had the entire framing package, trusses, lumber, OSB, everything sitting on the job site, and the lumber was great. And there were guys digging trenches. They were digging the footings. They had that lumber delivered months before they needed it just to get it covered. So you wonder how much that stuff's out there already. It's got to have it. Just shows you how kinky the market is. But Jeff, I think that rather than just dinking around here with one or two things, the prices are definitely lower. It's a better deal for your customer now, and your supplier should certainly say, well, you thought it was a good deal 3 weeks ago. Adjust my price to where it is now, and get that thing done and get it off plate and start. Get it finished and move on to something else.
Yeah, but he just put some more information here. It says, I'm thinking I need to commit. I think I need to commit today for delivery next Friday. My customer wants to wait, but then I lose the framer. Again, in full disclosure, I have no idea how to advise you on that, but it's, you can think, but like Matt said, you can listen to what his best advice is on that one. Yeah, framing, it's tough to get framers because they can move anywhere and be busy, right? That's the benefit of being a framer right now. There's too much business, right?
Yeah.
That's
the reason that tell your buy the wood today with a contingency that you get the lower price between this Friday or next Friday. They can go ahead and deliver it. Then the framer's happy, and you get to take advantage of whatever the market does. If it goes lower, you get it, and it probably will print a little bit lower. I'm thinking you're going to be close to the bottom, but Just tell them that's what it's going to take to get the job today. I need price protection, the lowest between this Friday's print, next Friday's print, or whatever the prices are, but I need the delivery on day.
So again, thank you everybody for attending. There's Layman's Lumber Guide, his information, his phone information, email information. Michael, good job on the Marathon Man answer. And we'll look forward, Matt, to having a great 4th of July and seeing you back here next Thursday. And it'll probably, with the volatility of this market, be a completely, maybe the same conversation, maybe a lower conversation, higher conversation, who knows? But hopefully we can.
Different story, though. We'll have different stories to tell.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Hope you have a great holiday, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.